Excelentíssimo Senhor Ministro dos Recursos Minerais, Petróleo e Gás. Excelentíssimo Senhor Secretário de Estado dos Petróleos e Gás. Excelentíssimo Senhor Secretário de Estado para as Finanças e Tesouro. Distintos membros do Conselho de Administração da Agência Nacional de Petróleo, Gás e Biocombustíveis. Dignos representantes das empresas nacionais e estrangeiras do setor petrolífero, prezados investidores, ilustres convidados, minhas senhoras e meus senhores. É com muita satisfação que, em nome da Sonangol, vos dou as boas-vindas ao ato de lançamento do processo de alienação parcial de interesses participativos em concessões petrolíferas, aos que nós se juntam presencialmente, aqui, no Centro de Convenções de Talatona, assim como aos que nos acompanham virtualmente pela página do YouTube da Sonangol, assim pelo Zoom também, onde a sessão pode ser assistida em português e inglês. Como o cenário bem indica, de Angola para o mundo, convidamos-vos a todos para embarcar conosco num périplo pelo offshore angolano, onde hoje, para além de mergulharmos em águas profundas para conhecermos os blocos em questão, também saberemos mais sobre o seu processo de alienação parcial, no que aos interesses participativos da Sonangol diz respeito. Esta viagem tem 4 paragens essenciais, começando pela explicação do processo de alienação, o seu enquadramento legal e contratual, o data room e a página web também serão apresentados e culminando com uma sessão de perguntas e respostas. Quem está familiarizado com a dinâmica deste setor já sabe que a segurança está sempre em primeiro lugar e é por isso mesmo que é com ela que vamos começar. A vossa atenção ao vídeo de segurança do Centro de Convenções de Talatona.
Momento de segurança. Este centro está protegido com os seguintes sistemas de segurança contra incêndios: alarmes, detectores automáticos de fumo, chuveiros automáticos ou sprinklers, extintores de incêndios e hidrantes. Se o alarme tocar ou em caso de emergência que implique evacuação. Para tudo o que estiver a fazer, mantenha-se calmo e sai da sala por uma das 2 portas sinalizadas com Exit. Após ter saído da sala, dirija-se para a escada de emergência. Deixe até a saída de serviço e siga o passeio até o ponto de encontro. Área em frente ao edifício do Centro de Convenções do Talatona. Também pode descer pela escada ao lado do elevador ou pela escada próxima da sala número 9 e sair do edifício pelas portas laterais. Nunca use as portas automáticas em caso de emergência. Nunca use o elevador ou as escadas rolantes em caso de emergência. Algumas informações úteis. Neste piso, há uma casa de banho no corredor que dá para a entrada do serviço de restaurante. A outra casa de banho fica localizada próxima da sala número 4. Por favor, coloquem os telefones nos vibradores durante as sessões de trabalho. Tenham uma jornada segura, livre de acidentes.
Avisados que estamos sobre os procedimentos de segurança locais e porque estamos em período de pandemia, vale também observar que no recinto estão a ser implementadas as medidas de biossegurança, quer pela providência das máscaras e álcool em gel, a desinfecção prévia do material utilizado por várias pessoas, o distanciamento E para aqueles que nos acompanham online, recomendamos também a adoção das medidas com as devidas adaptações e, se possível, fiquem em casa. Nós, que estamos no Centro de Convenções de Talatona, vamos prosseguir agora com a sessão de abertura oficial, que será feita por Sua Excelência, Senhor Ministro dos Recursos Minerais, Petróleo e Gás, Diamantino Azevedo, a quem convido ao palco para tomar a palavra e proferir o discurso inaugural. A vossa atenção, por favor.
Muito bom dia a todos os presentes. Excelentíssimos senhores Secretário de Estado das Finanças e Tesouro e Secretário de Estado de Petróleo e Gás, excelentíssimos membros do Conselho de Administração da Agência Nacional de Petróleo e Gás, distintos membros do Conselho de Administração da Sonangol, ilustres presidentes e diretores gerais das empresas nacionais e estrangeiras do setor petrolífero, ilustres convidados, minhas senhoras e meus senhores. Apraz-me manifestar a minha satisfação pelo convite para proceder à abertura deste evento de suma importância para o Estado angolano e para a empresa nacional, bem como para o desenvolvimento do setor petrolífero e da economia de forma generalizada. É bastante conhecido o potencial geológico das bacias sedimentares angolanas do Baixo Congo e Kwanza, onde se inserem a maior parte das concessões objeto de alienação, e acreditamos que o mesmo será verificado na bacia do Namibe, que carece de estudos mais aprofundados que atestem o seu potencial. Pela importância do setor petrolífero para o desenvolvimento econômico de Angola, o Executivo implementou uma série de reformas ao quadro legal, fiscal e contratual para conferir aos investidores internos e externos a atratividade necessária para se inserirem no setor com menor burocracia e maior transparência, ajustada à realidade atual com uma legislação eficaz e moderna. A abertura deste processo de alienação parcial dos interesses participativos em algumas concessões petrolíferas da Sonangol emerge de ações que visam o reposicionamento e sustentabilidade da carteira de investimentos da Sonangol para a assunção dos seus compromissos financeiros nas concessões petrolíferas e com as instituições bancárias, suportar as despesas associadas com a importação de refinados e reduzir a sua exposição financeira como órgão representante do Estado com intervenção direta nas concessões petrolíferas enquanto entidade investidora. Tratando-se de um procedimento comum na indústria petrolífera, a alienação parcial em alguns blocos petrolíferos enquadra-se na estratégia de exploração e produção da Sonangol para o reposicionamento do operador petrolífero nacional em algumas concessões petrolíferas do offshore angolano, com o intuito de promover melhor alocação do capital, maior eficiência do negócio, criação de sinergias de custos e maior foco na cadeia de valor do petróleo e gás. O referido processo visa a alienação parcial de interesse participativo da Sonangol em 8 blocos do offshore angolano, nomeadamente Bloco 3/05, Bloco 4/05, Bloco 5/06, Bloco 15/06, Bloco 18, Bloco 23, Bloco 27 e Bloco 31, um ato que, em continuidade com o processo de reestruturação da Sonangol, visa colocar estes ativos na retina de parceiros e investidores que vislumbrem a sua efetiva rentabilização. Ilustres convidados, a partir de hoje, as empresas nacionais e estrangeiras interessadas são convidadas a participar no referido processo, ressaltando-se a obrigatoriedade de cumprimento dos requisitos estabelecidos na lei, com as obrigações inerentes aos contratos e acordos existentes para as concessões objeto de alienação, bem como o cumprimento das normas e procedimentos previstos pela Sonangol para o processo em causa. Sobre a Sonangol, recai a responsabilidade de simplificar os procedimentos do processo e ter sempre uma narrativa agregadora mediante uma comunicação fluida e apelativa sobre todas as atividades previstas. Aproveito esta oportunidade para desejar sucesso a todos os intervenientes neste processo que hoje se inicia e que sejam alcançados os objetivos preconizados, enfatizando que contam desde logo com o suporte dos órgãos do Estado angolano e particularmente do Ministério dos Recursos Minerais, Petróleo e Gás. Para terminar, felicito os organizadores e participantes do evento pela importância que tal iniciativa se reveste para o Estado angolano, para a Sonangol e para o setor petrolífero de forma generalizada, como um dos motores propulsores do desenvolvimento da economia angolana. Declaro assim aberto o processo de alienação parcial de interesses participativos da Sonangol em concessões petrolíferas. Muito obrigado.
Muito obrigada, Sr. Ministro dos Recursos Minerais, Petróleo e Gás, Engenheiro Diamantino Azevedo, que, ao proferir o seu discurso, abre oficialmente a sessão. Daqui, nós vamos continuar, então, a fazer esta viagem, partindo agora para a apresentação do processo de alienações, que será feita pelo Presidente da Comissão Executiva da Unidade de Negócio de Exploração e Produção, o Sr. Ricardo Van Deste. A vossa atenção, por favor.
Excelência, Sr. Secretário da Agência Nacional de Petróleo, Gás e Biocombustíveis, Excelência, Sr. Secretário da Sonangol, representantes administradores, distintos convidados e todos aqueles que nos acompanham online, renovar os votos de um dia. Queria, mais uma vez, desejar as boas-vindas à cerimônia de lançamento do processo de alienação dos blocos petrolíferos da Sonangol. A iniciativa da alienação parcial dos blocos petrolíferos da Sonangol parte da necessidade de se reavaliar a posição financeira da Sonangol, com particular ênfase para o segmento do upstream. Na medida em que, com a reforma do setor petrolífero, onde se destacou a transferência da função concessionária da Sonangol para a Agência Nacional, a Sonangol deverá ter Temos outros para aqueles que mais adversos.
Apresentar o bloco 305, que é um bloco em produção, que já tem uns bons anos, os campos são maduros, e vou falar na generalidade, vou falar de alguma prospectividade do bloco e também vou falar dos volumes remanescentes. Para começar, no geral, eu queria dizer...
I'd like to start by saying that the decree 73/05 that it allowed the existence, that enabled the existence of 05 decreed in September 2020. It's a production sharing contract which was signed in October 2005 and came into force in November 2005. So it has 6 companies, Sonangol with 50%, research and production with 12%, Somoy with 10%, Giannis, and each of them with the duration of the contract is of 20 years since the date it came into force, that is 2005. So we still have remaining 4 years until the end of this contract. At this point in time, because of these, the end of the concession, the operators is negotiating with an extension of the contract, as well as some tax conditions being negotiated. Now, continue with the generality. I'd just like to say that the block 0305 is located in Congo Basin in Angola. It's about 200 kilometers from Luanda, going to north, and 95% total areas of 380 square kilometers, water from the north to south between 50 to 100 meters. We have various seismics in the block, including the 3D seismic. So the exploration process, we are doing 54 wells, and out of these wells, from the research and evaluation wells, 11 were commercial, and the availability of these wells resulted in the development plan. The fields are Pecasa Field, Buffalo, Palanca, Impala Southeast, Combo, Pambi, and Ombo. In this development, process, we have 11 production platforms, and we also have 3 processing platforms. And we have 2 billion barrels for the production. At this point in time, we have 43% in terms of recovery factor of these fields. There is some prospection in the block, but one has to mention that even though it's a mature block, started producing since 2005, we still have in our ledgers about 125 million barrels to be. So, like I say, the license will end at 2025. The operator, which happens to be Sonangol Research and Production, is negotiating with the agency so we can extend the concession period until 2040. I spoke about the prospection. We've been producing in this field for quite a while, but there's still some, within the block DA, there are reservoirs that were not produced until this date. We have the example Yab, we're talking about 57 million barrels projected. What do we have for the fields that have been produced? We have the Pacassa field, which is the best field. It has 1 billion and 31 barrels, just like the studies indicate. And if we are to increase the stock, we are going to increase the remaining volume as well as the reserves in this field. 1.31 billion is equivalent to 32% of the total stock of the block, which is of 3.2 billion. And then we have the Buffalo field, which has 328 million stock. We have already produced 79 million, so we still have a remaining volume of 71%. The Buffalo field is also under study in the northern part of Buffalo, where we have made some prospection. Some studies have been conducted, and we have some wells and being tested, but they haven't been developed. For instance, Pacassa and Buffalo, which are the best field we have at this point in time, we still have perspective of increasing with the remaining volume and consequently the reserves as well. There is another field which was produced in 90, which is the oldest, from since 1985, and we still have remaining volume for this. Then we have the Impala, then we have the Kobo and Ombo. One has to mention that even though this block has been producing over the past 36 years, starting with Palanca field, which is the mother of all fields, we still have a very high potential on this block. And within the existing fields, we're still projecting reserves equivalent to 150 million barrels that did not include the information that I've just provided on Pacassa and Buffalo, which has potential zones. So stoic, for both stoic as well, remaining volume, and consequently the reserves. As for the block 305, that's what I'm sharing, and that's what I'm going to tell you. Thank you to Mr. Tomás Manuel, head of the subsurface department for the business and exploration unit, and he was able to provide specifications of blocks 305. Before I hand over the floor to the next presenter, those following us face-to-face and virtually, that there is a possibility of you asking questions on the processes, the blocks, and any other issues around this topic, and there will be a dedicated session for the Q&A. So for those of you who have questions, there will be time for you to ask questions. And those also following us virtually, you can also place your questions by asking the questions virtually, and our production team will be able to get your questions. Now we move on to the 405 block, which will be presented by Milton Pinheiro, director of the block. He's also from the Exploration and Production Business Unit of Sonangol. Your attention, please. Good morning, everyone. Those present in this room and those following us virtually. Blocks 405, let me just give you a legal overview. Its concession was given by the Executive Decree number 7, is governed by the sharing production contract with a signature date for October 2005. It is made up by national companies, Sonangol as a and so 3 years and another 3 years for testing. It was an extension, the first, second, and third, all governed by the Executive Decree dated in 2003, 2004, 2005. It has a production date of 20 years. The current situation of the block, our continuing interaction with the National Agency for Oil and Gas and Biofuel as the regulator, in as far as our legal and contractual contract agreements is concerned. In terms of location, it's based in the maritime Congo Basin with 270 square kilometers. It has 2 acquired seismics, one in 1996, which was eventually reprocessed in 2008, and a second one, a very recent one, of a high resolution in 2018, which really resulted as a game changer in Block 4. In historical perspective, Jimboa is our field which is in production since April 2009. It aimed at the highest surface. It is identified historic at the 170 million barrels. The development is made up by 7 fields, 3 producers and 4 injectors. It has certified reserve until 31 of December 2020 of 1.47 billion barrels. The accumulated production, 46 million barrels, which resulted at recovery factors of 26%. However, by end of the concession 2025, we would additionally recover 3 billion barrels. The seismic in 2018 allowed us to reevaluate the subsurface potential in Jimboa field, which resulted in a better understanding of its geology and sediment, and we could talk about an increased 170 million barrels for the Jimboa field. So it has a production license until 2025. Additionally, we have 2 proven discoveries within the Jimboa development area from 2007 to 2008, namely 116, which has a stoic of 138 million barrels, and 107, which has 156 million barrels. So a combined total, and we always look at these 2 discoveries in an integrated and combined manner. You're talking about an in-place volume of 300 million barrel plus. So it's not just that. With this recently acquired seismic in 2018, it enabled us to reevaluate its potential, and now we understand that we have an additional total of 14 prospects subdivided into 3 fields: Malembo with 150 million barrels and Pinda with 170 million barrels, increasing in the volume by 375 million barrels. For Block 4, that's what we had to present. Just to summarize, Jimboa field could have an additional potential of 170 million barrels. The discoveries, 375 million barrels, and in terms of additional prospect, 350 million barrels. Thank you for your attention. Thank you, Director Milton Pinheiro, for your presentation. This was the specification of the Block 4 D405. Now, let us now have your attention on Blocks 527, which will be presented by the Exploration Director of the Business Unit and Exploration, Mr. Nelson Suarez, will be able to make a presentation on this block, 3 blocks. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, all colleagues following us online. Let me just rectify, I'm not the director for the exploration. I'm just a geologist, and I'm working for the Exploration Directorate. So I'm here to present 3 blocks, which is Block 503, Block 23, and Block 26. All these blocks are in exploration now. I'll start by Block 506 in Quanta Basin, which is a block of low tide waters. The legal and contract framework. The license started with Executive Decree 56/4. It's a production sharing contract agreement. The date of signature is 1st of November 2006. The effective date was 1st of December 2006, and the contractor is detained 100% by Sonangol Research and Production. Well, the concession duration, so the initial stage of research was 4 years. The subsequent was of 3 years. The production period will last 20 years. We have 2 extensions at these blocks, all of them followed by their respective executive decree. The first of 2003 and the other 2012. The current situation of block, we are currently acquiring the seismic situation of the northern part of the field. Some generic information of the block. The block is located in Kwanza Basin. It's just 35 kilometers from Luanda. It has a total area of 5,000 square kilometers. It has a water depth of from 0 to 600 meters. So it's we had acquired seismic. We have a 2D seismic which covered practically the whole block, and we have a 3D seismic in the southern part of the block with an area of approximately 2,600 square kilometers. This block already has 13 drilled wells. The geologic objective is the pre-salt and salt, but we still have remaining resources of 2 billion barrels. Now, talking about geophysical, geologic data, the whole block is covered with a 2D seismic, but we only have 3D seismic in the southern part of the block, so there's a need to acquire the 3D seismic in the northern part of the block. And this is a process which is undergoing. We have 2 3D surveys. We have the Patriot survey with more than 5,000 square kilometers. We have the the Patriot survey of 3 days with 450 square kilometers. In terms of geology, what do we intend to do in Block 5? Generally, in terms of pre-salt, these are high carbonate situated in the basement, in the sea rift zone. In the pre-salt, we have the rollover structures. We have also attempted to identify the sand or yard, which block produced in Kian and block, in Block 4. We also have identified the tertiary channels in the Oligocene and Eocene. So these are the 3 we have identified in Block 5. As for the opportunities, the strategy for Block 5, just like the CEO has indicated, the oil system is proven, and out of the 13 drill wells, we have 3 non-commercial discoveries, such as the Mwamba well, Mwafi, and Pakobalo. And apart from that, we also have 3 prospects, mature prospects, 3 in terms of the pre-salt and 2 in terms of the post-salt.
Where we have 2D system, we have 14 leads identified, 8 pre-salt and 6 post-salt. What is the strategy for this block? So the strategy will be to acquire seismic of high qualifications, to mature these leads, to go for risk analysis, to see the needs, to drilling the wells and put them in action. I'd like to ask you to verify the geographic leads of their close to the fields on actions on the Block 4, which Milton has mentioned, Diego, and they are close to Block 18, where we have various field in actions or in productions. So we are now situated geographical in position, in favorable position. So Block 5, this is the information that I'd like to share. So I now will start talking about Block 23. Block 23, based in Kwanza Basin of deep water. So the license has started with Decree 85/November. The type of countries is the contract of sharing the productions. The date of starting 1 November 26. Actions that is year after. This block is owned by Sonangol Drilling and Research, and Sonangol has 100% of shares of this block. However, this is the only member group of DT. So the duration of the concessions, the initial phase of research was 4 years. The next phase was 2 years. The period of productions of 25 years after the discovery of the commercial wells, and we have many functions with the executive decrees. I'd like just to mention in the last decree, which extend the license for more 4 years in an executive or government decrees of 15, and it extend the license of 2018 until 2022 December. What is the situation of a Block 23? So currently we continue with the study of GNG in order to determine the perspective of the block. So the general information of the block. The block is located in offshore of Kwanza Basin, has 4 millions with a water blades of 600 to 1,600 as belong to the deep water of the block, and it is system of 3D in the north side and closely 3,800 square meter. Block 23 has a research well. We have been saying that Block 23 has the high tax of success in offshore, has got a research well and commercial discovery. This is the high tax of success that do exist. We have the remaining productions of 2,340 million barrels. So the discovery in Block 23 is the well blue one. Geological data and geophysics, as I mentioned before. So the block is covered of seismic 2D, and 4D we have 3 surveys, and another one with 828, all in north side. The main objective of Block 28.3 is on the pre-salt, is the structures located low of salt. These structures located low the salt, in the seismic, it's quite difficult to identify. However, we have to go for different process. In Block 23, we have done 3 processes. Number 1, the discovery of a blue field. The second processing was the 3D PST, the 3,000 square kilometers. So the 3 processing, we use it by using 3Ds on leads located in part south of the block. So opportunities and strategies, as I mentioned, so the block has the discovery of block. We are sure that then we have another 3 leads. So the Block 23, the focus on the pre-salt. What should be the strategy of explorer? First, to research the structures of block blue or blue block, identify these structures, to drill the additional wells and put them in productions. In Block 23, we have a unique opportunity with the success rate. We have the blue discovery, so the risks here are really lower. However, on Block 23, I will move to Namib Basin. I'll talk about Block 27, the block of Namib Basins, which started in licitation. So the license started with the Presidential Decree 124/2021, which is also the contract of sharing and productions. Once again, Sonangol has the contractor in this block. So the production of concessions is for 4 years. So the period of productions is 25 years of each development area of commerce. The current situation of the block has the Block 5. We are in the process of seismic acquisitions of north part of the block. This is a joint process. The other data on Block 27 are located in Namib Basin. It has a total area of 120 kilometers. The water blades go 5,000 to 800. This is a block of deep water. Namib Basin is a new basin based on the border, has never been drilled, but it posed some challenges. As well as the CEO has mentioned, we have evidences that this oil system will work. For example, in a seismic way, we have seen good channels. When we extract the amplitude, we have the presence of the well, and we have also the analogies of the fields that produce in Brazil. We have also a field work that we have conducted, and we have brought it to our partners. We have been able to collect on the field trip the piston course that we have conducted of a company that has conducted. It also shows evidences that the oil system in Namib Basins work. from the seismic that do exist of 2Ds, it was also possible to identify 2 leads in north side of the block. Geological and physical data. Block 27 has many other blocks, has the covers of 2Ds in all extension. We also a survey of 3D which cover the south side of the block with 206 square kilometers. In the north side, we do not have a seismic of 3D. This is what we are going to acquire now. So the strategy here goes by acquiring that is close to the national agencies of oil and gas. We need to acquire a survey of 3Ds. We have it in the south side. We have also to acquire the graph mat data. We need to get the report of piston course. We need also to acquire some lines, CONST, GSP, which we do not have yet. So the group DNP need to acquire close to the national agencies of oil and gas. So opportunities and strategies. As I mentioned before, we have identified 2 leads in offsite on the using by seismic 2Ds. These leads in offsite, we are able to see the prospective resources closely to 700 million of barrel, 700 barrel. What will be the strategy of acting here to acquire seismic of high resolutions close to these 2 leads? Of course, to acquire also the 3D survey on national agencies of oil and gas. So we need to mature these opportunities, to go for risk analysis, if it is possible to drill and make them active and generate money. So this is a border basin, but we have opportunities. We are able to prove that the oil system work. As I mentioned before, we have so various channels and presence of very good wells. So these leads give us opportunity for 700 million barrel. Thank you very much. These are the data that I'd like to share of block 23, 27, and 8. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Nelson Suar, Geological, a member of Business Department of Sonangol, who presented block 506, 23, and 27. This one located in Namibia. We are 5 of the 18 blocks that we will present. Now let's go for the 3 last one, 15 through 06, 18, and 31. For this part, the presentation, I will invite the Director of National Assets, Mr. Mario Dia from Sonangol. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I will present the 2 last 3 blocks, all of them based on the Low Congo Basin. 1505, my introductions, as the CEO has mentioned, the potential of this block on the 3 phases that we have: phase of exploration, development, and production. In these slides, I will really, so the concessions of block 1506 through presidential decree on the 06/1 November. This is a contract of sharing production, which signature were carried out 3 November of 2006, and its effectiveness we start 1 November 2006. So the mining rights were acquired through the contractors comprised by Eni as operator with 36%, Sonangol research and production, and SSI with 26 and /22%. So Going on these slides, on the part of this reality, I'd like to mention, as I mentioned before, this block is based on offshore and low Congo Basin. It is far away from northeast of Luanda and northeast from Soyo. Block 1506 cover an area of 3,000 square meters. Water blade got 220 to 1,700 meter squares. So the seismic carried out in this process is 3D. On block 15, where drilled a total of 33 wells, 24 of research, and 9 wells of assessment. So in terms of geological objectives of 1506, we have Oligocene. These 2 drilled wells, we have 16 commercial wells. In terms of resources, we have UP50, 2,000 and millions barrel, has a potential very, very big. That's why the introduction that were mentioned by the CEO. So we have the remaining. In the next slide, we will really make a broad approach. We have closely 1,500 million barrel. So this block has in production 8 fields connected to units, to SPSO, 6 fields in Polo West and 6 in Polo West. Polo West is connected to the SPSO Kizomba and SPSO Armada. So in terms of reserves, 31st December had a total of we had a production roughly 42.2% of barrels. In terms of reserves, we have the potential roughly of 174 million barrels. So regarding to the reserves of Pole West, until 30 December 2020, roughly 205 million barrels as accumulated productions of 200.5 million barrels, and remaining productions roughly 100 million barrels. In these slides, is just to illustrate that we have on the left side a prospective mapper. We have the 2 polos, West Pole and the East Poles. The red are the fields of the polo, and we have the green indicator of some other prospect. It means that reality and the potentials remaining in these 2 blocks. In the period of 2008 and 2021, where drilled 8 wells, where identified resources in order of 2,079 million barrels. So again, so we can go with this block with a huge potential. We still have in these documents 3 prospects matured and closely 278 million barrels. We have 2 prospects in the phase of maturation, and we have the resource estimated. We have 2 discoveries. Dungu, that has a reserve of resources of 934 million. So this block, and it has been doing a very huge work. It has been an opportunity of many other fields to enter in actions quickly. And as I mentioned in the introduction, so we have 2 fields coming into action. In this slide, we can really mention about what we mentioned in Pole West, one of the 2 fields in with the geological objective, one to be lower, another one in the middles. In terms of the volumes, we have 316 million barrels, where produced 142 plus 3%, and we have a remaining of 174 million barrels. going to Polo West, the reserve until 31st December 2020, we will cover the 4 fields. So Cabasa Southwest and Cabasa North. So the objective we're presented in terms of volume, we have roughly 245 million barrels, where so far produced 175 million. So we have volume, remaining volume, roughly of 160 million barrels. So to mention on the Cabasa Southwest and geological objectives, we can see the productions in production in December 2021. It will happen with Cabasa North, which will enter in actions in the end of this year in December. However, these are kind of the production we have, and we still have some potential that will enter in production more 2 fields in December. We have the remaining potential of exploration really big, and we consider these 2 blocks the most successful that we have, and mentioning so the resources that we have, which is roughly 1,500 million barrels. So it is really very successful. Next, it is a block which were created by the 2 presidential decree and August, where we have the contract of sharing production. The signing were carried out in 1996 and the effective at 1 October 1996. This conception has no operations ADP Angola with roughly 174 SSI with 37.5%, ADP Beta with 9.76%, and Sonangol research and drilling with 28%. So we have the remaining of development area. So it's following of 5 years through Executive Decree 272/20, 31st December. So the current situation of this block, the enter of Sonangol drilling and research, we have the 2 decrees. Sonangol research and drilling has entered with 16.8% of a perspective shared by RDP and SSR on the ambit of sharing of the executive that we present. In this slide, it is a block which mentions on the Low Congo in offshore, cover total area of 334 square meters. Water blades go for 1,400 square meters. We have seismic survey with 1 seismic 3D, 11 and 12,870 square meters, and seismic 4D of 2,014 square meters. In terms of the drilling wells, we have the total number of research. However, we have the oligo center. So in terms of resources, we are talking about 50% of our Pluton, 1,016 million barrels. We have a remaining reservoir of 186 million barrels. We have some opportunity that we have in block 18, including platinum. We have also SSI that we will really mention. Block 18 so far has 5 fields in production with Gallu, Pluton, which is connected to the floating production unit with SPSO. So we have 28 production and 31 injectors. We have a project, we mentioned it in the introductions, that I'll be really brief. However, we have the platines and upsides, which the first oil is foreseen December 2021. Regarding to the reservoir of the great Pluton, we are talking about 612 million barrels. So we have roughly 31%. On next slide, just to mention, just a summary on the oil reserves. We have the demonstration of the fields, mentioned alias. Most of them are all Oligocene, which goes roughly
barrels. So up to today, we have accumulated production of 6.1 million barrels. There is a remaining volume to be produced, about 6.5%. So in this slide, we have shown some opportunities that we have within development areas, some related wells related to the seismic that had been acquired in 2019. We have plutonium and palladium. So in reality, the rate index of production, we are talking about resources and 25.8 barrels. In terms of contingents, we have two fields. We have Salsdale and Shumbu 2018. We're talking about 55.5% of, there's a potential. We have the three phases: operation, development, exploration, and also to be produced. So next, talking about a little about the block 31. This is the Lower Congo group. In terms of generality, this block has been created for Decree/19 of 14th of May. This is a production sharing agreement, which the signature was carried out on 16th of March 1999. So, and this has become effective at 1st of June 1999. BP is the operator. It has 17% SSE with 15%. Conagop's exploration and production 15%, Statoil and 13% 55. There was two extensions in this block. We have referred to the second extension with the 2-year extension decree, executive decree of the 10th of October. So therefore there was some decrees, and they have authorized the production from the business recovery up to the end of this year until December of 2021. So this slide, it is a generality, a consequence of shore Lower Congo Basin. So we have this block is located extreme north of the Lower Congo Basin, 200 kilometers of the Angolan coast. So the 31 group covers the areas of 900 square kilometers and 2,500 tons. In terms of seismic, we have the quiet seismic, 5,349 3D, 339 square feet. So this block has been filled 32 wells, 26 of exploration, 26 of evaluation. So we have Gosono and Legocene. We have total of 19 commercial pulses. In terms of remaining resources, we have approximately 235 barrels put in place, around 881,000 barrels. So we have the well, in terms of barrels of 417,000 million barrels. So we have some other areas being explored in development. So we have, in terms of resources, 473.8 million barrels. So Block 31 has at the moment four fields in production. They are connected to only production unit, PS2 and PSDM. In terms of stock, we are talking about a total of 150,000 million barrels. So accumulating production in Block 31, 31 of December will be 356,000 barrels. There is a remaining volume to be produced of around 120,000 million barrels. So In this slide, we have in terms of perforated wells. We have the wells here, we have perforated wells. They've been identified in terms of 800,000 million barrels. We also have maturated wells at Zatik and at the north. We have resources in places, a total of approximately estimated to 356 million barrels. They are maturated, so they are ready to be in production. This table, we have the oil reserves, the PCM, at 31 December 2020. We have the 4 fields in production, PSV, the geological objectives, the resources, and the wells that we have on those total of 465.7 million barrels. So the accumulated production up to date is 300.62 barrels. We still have a remaining production of 99.5 million barrels. So just to be referred here by the representative of these 3 blocks, they are undoubtedly, the 3 phases are in place, and they will have return advantage, and we have to refer to the block 15.6, around 1.5 million barrels. It has all the entire phases of the exploration and production and development, and the potential of a considerable emphasis. Thank you for your attention. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much to Mario Diaz. I have the presentation of the 3 last blocks in appreciation. So 18, 6/15, 18, and 31. So we're going to leave from deep waters that we have in those blocks, and we move to the legal questions that this has been, if will be carried out with the sharing production agreement. So then to talk about those legal and hiring process, we'll call to the stage Mr. Elder Non Lisboa, which is Director of Strategy and Portfolio Management. Good morning to all. A special good morning to our audience, but to the virtual people, hoping that everything is within the normality. Please allow me to address the framework, the contractual legal framework. We have 3 contracts in Angola, association contracts. It has the specificity, the service agreement, which is this legal taxation regime, and the production sharing agreement. All of those are subject to legal presentation. This is a sharing, taking account to the feasibility of the blocks. We have a slide which is merely illustrative. Therefore, it's not regarding to any block in particular, where we're going to submit a legal framework of the legal Angolan taxation. This is a legal framework. See our legal system for the oil sector that will be published in our site, and we are talking here about Decree Law 5.18 that has been replaced to oil activities and taxation laws, and to facilitate all those to replace. In relation to and contractual framework, just to say that according to the terms that we have in different contracts. So we have the oil crude, what has been produced from the concessions from this oil. We have to take into account the recovery costs process, and the remaining that is going to want to be used for the sharing of the within the framework of this contract. We equally to say a major part of the blocks, we are talking about production blocks where we have a sharing, a favorable sharing of for the contractor group. Those are blocks that we have some higher level of internal rate that would allow us to have a favorable sharing for the contractor group. Right, I will have some polls here just to explain a little bit the relevance of these slides. Those slides, sorry, those have been submitted in general, but what is our aim here is we need investors, and within the period we be able to have a confidential agreement. We will share specific details of each of the blocks. And why? I'll coming back a little bit further. From the beginning, we talked about the advantage of the investors. Investors have advantage in this firm out process. We are talking about blocks in production, participatory interest of the Sonangol group, but this requires a feasible study, economic feasible study. At the end of the day, we'll be able to have a proposal, evaluation proposal to Sonangol. These two slides will remind us of that. So with these two reference these terms of contractor terms, the taxation Angola system. So we will have our economic and our team, and we have the meaning of the value of those blocks. At the end of the day, this is what Sonangol expects and we will do this exercise together with companies. We have listened explanation from our colleague of the potential that was said here earlier. We have identified prospects. We have the structures that have been identified, but this was a huge explanation that I feel comfortable. Those are colleagues that I trust, and I feel comfortable that I believe there is the potential in all of those entire blocks. What I have to do here, we don't want you to believe as a future investors, as future partners, we don't want us to believe only in Sonangol, but we want you to come with us and have and access all this information and come here to and prove from yourself all of this potential that has been submitted here by our colleagues. And here I have this for the showroom in terms of some conditions. The access to the data showroom is done through the confidential agreement, signature of signature team, and then at the time of the record, we should expect to have the company names and the interests, as well as the proposal of timetable proposal, data for the data showroom. There is another legal issues that have been within this data showroom that Sonangol will have the opportunity to share with those potential investors. So therefore, we hope to receive from today your signings or through our site for this data showroom. In terms of responsibility, Sonangol is not liable for the management or handling for not sites that are not liable. We don't have this responsibility to see some sites that are not liable. And also in terms of security, those will be handed out. Some IDs will be handed out, some accesses as well, that we hope will be customized, so that we can have this for the exploration of Sonangol. Just a brief summary here, what we intend to do with this showroom. We have spoken about the registration. What we intend to do in those sessions is to have at the beginning kind of a presentation management where, and here I repeat, we have the confidential agreement signed, where we will have this information sharing in detail for each of the blocks, even if those are at the level, contractual level, or whether at the level of the geological or geophysics of each block. Also, that to say that we are prepared to sit down with our potential investors to discuss economic, some visible issues of the block, and also to emphasize again that we're dealing with this is a process of sharing of interest. We expect to have some dialogue, some explanation, some discussions on those blocks. As we used to say, it doesn't need to be a one-time shot. There's have to be some information sharing, and we are prepared for this. The second session is the issue of the workstation. Colleagues are also ready to be at a dedicated city rooms so that information can be available, and for the possession logs, seismic, and also to ask to reply to all the necessary questions in regards to the potential of those blocks.
Well, at this point in time, like we said on this morning, we invited our investors, our partners, to be part of the showroom, and this will have a duration of approximately 1 month, and this is what we're going to do. In reality, there will be 2 months for companies to organize themselves and submit their proposals. So 2 months from today in order to select proposals. Why 2 months? Because this process dates back from 2018. We know that many companies were quite familiarized with these concessions and they're ready to submit their proposals. We have received proposals in the past. So those who feel comfortable, please, from today onwards, we are ready to receive proposals from the different companies. And right after that, we have an evaluation period that is an internal work of Sonangol from the multidisciplinary teams. We will evaluate the proposals. We will then announce the results of these proposals, and then we will be in a position to negotiate with a sales contract, a sales agreement. And after this period, which was emphasized at the beginning with respect to the contractual joint operation agreements, Sonangol has the obligation to submit such contract, sales contract, for these members of the contractors will organize themselves and will have the possibility to match the proposal. And these contracts, the purchase this will be submitted to the National Agency for Oil and Gas and Biofuels to validate the interests we will submit for each of the situations. And right after that, there will be questions, the usual issues between the national concessionary and the ministry, and the publication of the decree that will authorize such farm out bid. And let us also emphasize is the intention of Sonangol to carry out a process that will be completed until the end of the year. So we'll run a little bit faster, and let's just hope that our investors will be able to submit their proposals, and they will also ask questions, so you can keep us really busy for the remainder of this year. Now, for the proposals, presentation or submission of proposals, later on we'll see in details, but the model of proposals, we have it on our website to simplify the work of the investors. We have a model. We prepared a model for such proposals. They can be found both in Portuguese or English. If an additional language will be required, then we'll have to translate it. We'll translate it. And then we'll get into details, because it has the details of the block and the value of the block. Another possibility is that proposals may be submitted individually. If the company has an interest for a block or for various blocks, they can submit such proposal, or you can submit it via a consortium via between 1, 2, 3. So it's up to the investors to decide. Let us just emphasize an important milestone. On the 6th of August of 2021, by 5 p.m., that is the deadline. That is the deadline that Sonangol will be able to receive those proposals. We usually like to leave everything at the end. So our appeal for the companies, for the investors, please, if you have the condition, please submit your proposals by tomorrow. You can go to the showroom, you can do it, but please just make sure you submit your proposals beforehand, so you won't be rushing at the very last day, so that there won't be. So these proposals may be sent through your email address. Because we need to adapt ourselves to the new containment measures due to this pandemic. However, we are expecting all proposals to be sent by email. Please just make sure that your proposals are sent to the CEO of Sonangol. They should all be closed and sealed, should all be sealed. And then we're going to match with a hard copy of the document, whatever is going to be received via email that is here on the screen. We also have this email here, where we'll believe that it's already available in order to interact, in order to contact with all companies. So via email, we can receive any queries, we can clarify any issues. So we shall use this email as an official point of contact between Sonangol and the potential investors in these farm out bid. I have a model, just like I had mentioned. I have a model with me. Let me just emphasize that all this information can also be found on the web page. You can just browse in and you'll be able to find all this information. And we also have this model, the proposal format, which is very clear, indicates the company, more generic issues are around the company. At the bottom, you'll find the blocks. It could be block 1, could be 2 blocks, 3 blocks. And in front of the indication of the block, we are expecting to receive the indication, the interest of the desired participation in the respective block. And let me just emphasize here that at the beginning, we present the blocks of possible interest in some cases. On the other cases, we say until a participatory interest. What do we mean by that? We'll leave it to the investors to decide. That's what we have available. Investors, please contact Sonangol. Please tell us. At the end, we will analyze it. We can sell a block for 1, 2, 3 companies. We will be able to do such an exercise based on the proposals to be submitted. Below, we have the possibility of receiving proposals by consortium. There is also this possibility. And we also have some additional remarks. And this is just to emphasize that we are making this act public, transparent, clear, and open for everyone. For those present in this room, for the investors in Angola, and for the foreign investors as well. Well, we probably know what we are going to get. They are very attractive blocks. We're not going to get investors locally. But let me just emphasize the new players. We want to have the possibility of analyzing, attracting new investors. Let me just break for a little while to take you back. I joined Sonangol in 2004. 17 years have passed, and during this period, this is what I know to do. The negotiations department now strategy upstream, but the upstream still prevail. And over this period, 17 years, I've always heard different comments. Investing in Angola is difficult, challenging. You can't get into Angola. Companies are selected beforehand. The public tenders have started, but they are tempered with. I mean, this is a lie. This is a lie. And those who say this, we have the freedom to say that someone is not willing to work. Someone is not willing to look at the rules. These are the rules that I'm going to read out loud. In that, these are the rules who's going to decide who's going to be joining us, who's not going to be joining us. We have a compliance process in place. Those who will not be able to observe it, they will obviously be out. Those who do not know the Angolan legal framework, the Angolan fiscal regime, those who do not understand the mechanism of the production sharing agreement, the mechanism of production sharing agreement, they will be able to adhere to our business. We realize that there might be a strategic vision on the price of the oil barrel, but as for the fiscal regime, and a proper understanding of the fiscal regime would be essential. And what we wanted by the end of the day is that Sonangol's assets will be valued. So Sonangol assets will be considered seriously. We are selling our assets and we expect them to be valued. In 2006, the first public tender process in Angola, public bid in Angola, we have heard the same conversation. The same companies are joining. It's difficult to invest in Angola. What was the outcome? It was a differentiated outcome. Block 106, there is a new player, Deloitte. Block 506, new player, Alco. All these companies as operators. Block 606, Petrobras. A known company, but was not invested in Angola. Block 1506, one of the blocks that we brought here today to be sold. Who invested in it? ENI. The former Ajit was in Angola, but gave up for quite a while, then re-entered. Block 006, Petrobras, which was considered as a new player at the time. What do I mean by that? Please, for those present in this room, especially for the audience online, new players, you can invest in the oil sector in Angola. It's possible, it's doable. We'll play by the rules, just like the Americans said, on time, be compliant, because it's possible. And it's our role to receive as many proposals as possible, and we'll spend endless nights, sleepless nights, but we want to receive proposals from any new player in the oil sector. Thank you.
Are you okay?
Thank you to Director Elder Nunes Lisboa, who's in charge for the strategy and portfolio management for Sonangol. We just presented on the legal aspects his appeal for the investors to adhere, because he says that we have sleepless nights to analyze your proposals. Since we are now cruiser's velocity, let us continue with this reading, and we'll immediately move on to the Q&A session. So we have gone through the blocks these are block 8, 305, 3/05, block 4/05, 5/06, block 23, block 27, 16/06, 18, block 18, and block 31. So these are the 8 blocks that were presented here with their specifications, locations, risks, advantages, and additional relevant information for those interested in that. And for all those who would like to ask questions via virtually, you can also ask your questions. Please just make sure to mention your name, the entity you represent, and where you are speaking from or writing from. Those who are going to ask questions via YouTube or Zoom, you can just raise your hand. And by the time you take the floor, please just make sure you mention your name, the organization you're representing, and obviously the question. You can then ask your question. Now, to answer the questions, I will invite one of the administrator, Joaquin Fernandes, Sonangol administrator, Joaquin Fernandes, the president, the chairman of the business unit, business exploration business unit of Sonangol, Ricardo Van Det, and the management strategy management director of Sonangol, Mr. Elder Nunes Lisboa. We have our protocol team with a wireless microphones. They're being sprayed with alcohol. As journalists can also ask questions. Let me just remind you that you can only ask questions around the topic that is being discussed here. And please take advantage of this opportunity to ask questions only around this topic, which has to do with the farm-out bid process of Sonangol. For all those interested in asking questions, you can please ask your questions, place your questions right now. No one wants to ask questions? We have one. Your name, the institution you're representing, and your question. Good morning. Director General Climate. I have two questions. One, I'd like to find out whether there's a preference right or law for national companies. Is there preferential treatment first for national companies? And that many other blocks Sonangol has interest. Why? Why didn't you mention other blocks? And for block 5, if I'm not mistaken, there were 11 wells. But I don't know, out of these 11, how many were discovered? There were discoveries. Is there any way you could enlighten me on these issues? Thank you. Thank you. We had one there to thank you. Any other questions? If not, I will now ask someone to answer this. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Gracias, for the question, Mr. For the questions. They're basically 3 questions, which was first has to do with the preferential treatment and the blocks that Sonangol has and are not listed here, and also on block 5. I would start by saying that the selection of blocks has to do optimization of our activities, especially on aspects relating to the 8 blocks we have defined initially. Those only 8 blocks in which 3 in production, despite the fact that we, Sonangol, are participating in 15 blocks in Angola. We are in this process, we are implementing our exploration production strategy. And because at the end of it, that will increase our production quota from 2 to 10% in the country. And in optimization phase of our portfolio, we have initially defined only the 8 out of the 20 blocks we are participating in. And we also consider the exploration blocks. So that is to answer the first questions. As for the preferential rights, I will hand over the floor to Director Lisboa. And as for the block 5, I'll hand over the floor to the CEO of UNEP to answer that question. Good morning once again, and thank you for the question on the national content issues, which is more than welcome. We believe that it's already time. The time is right to have some investment or the participation of Angolan private companies in this oil exploration. But let me just draw your attention to the process itself. This is a process, a farm out process where Sonangol intends to sell its participatory interest. The process in itself, and given the legal framework, I'm going to get into the legal aspects. This is a free farm out process without any restrictions. On the valorization of our assets, we want to stimulate the market and to value as much as possible so that Sonangol can sell its assets at the best price in the market. So that it's an open activity, actually. Now, as for the contract, yes, there's some rules with respect to the Angolan private companies. We have presented the issues on the preference right. And if you had to go back to the slide, we have some arrows with some diagram. Well, what were they saying? They were saying that those arrows were saying that within a group of contractors, whenever one of the companies sells to third parties, after the signature of the contract, the purchase agreement to the group of contractors, within the group of contractors, the priority will be given to Angolan companies, even within that group of contractors. Is Sonangol So the priority would be to Sonangol in this case. And then
will be the other group of foreign contractor. Please, I will repeat in order to avoid misunderstanding. Priority to Angolan private companies, members of contractors companies. So the group of contractor, it is an open competition in order to sell these assets. So this what I had to share. Good morning, everyone. Regarding block 05/6, as we have seen the presentation, block 05/06 has got 13 wells drilled. These 13, we have 3 new discovery non-commercial. So 3 of carbon, not in enough quantities to be traded. These are the non-commercial discoveries which give us the certainty that the oil discoveries are functional. Some of them that have mentioned earlier in our presentation. So these are seismic acquisition that were conducted. We have big potential. We have a non-commercial, non-trade discovery that we have found in blocks number 3. Thank you very much for further details. We're still open for more questions. So online we have one question. So we were concluding the block of questions that were made presentialists, that we have Mr. Oligo Soy from Oligonaut organization through Zoom. We'd like to know that the presentation will be available through the emails of all participants of this conference. Indeed, at the end of this session, we will really send to all the list of emails of our participants, all the presentation. So my question regarding the block that were mentioned, we need brief details on oil, the attractive. I don't know if the volume that were presented include or mention to equivalent oil. However, we'd like to have this notion regarding to gas. Then the same number that were presented about oil, we'd like to have to, if it is all the same, the numbers of the gas. So through Mr. CEO, and I'd like to hand over the question, the floor to the president to answer the question. I'll give the floor to Mr. Ricardo for giving the answers. The number or the figure that were presented so far. So it goes through the oil. So it goes more for explorations on the concession that we have found. We are also looking to the volume of gas because it's part of our strategies of drilling and research, the quantification of these volumes, as well as the monetizations of this. We did not present the volume of gas, but for one of these concessions, we have these figures connected, as well as some other blocks where we are partners. So we have a significant volumes of gas not associated to the discoveries. Thank you, Ms. Vita. Thank you for your brief answers. Now I go back to the audience. If we still have a question, we didn't have more questions online, but
I think in this room we have more questions. From Sinopec, we'd like to know if there will be obligatory of financing of Sonangol through the phase of research or survey, mainly the blocks where Sonangol has 5%. Thank you for your brief question. Now I hand over the floor to Mr. Elder. Thank you. So this is a very good question. I'd like to start by saying the obligatory of financing from Sonangol, it is stipulated by the law or by the law decree 5/8. So we will not follow the law. However, so where Sonangol, it is an operator on the research and surveys, but the company that will participate or will be members of the contractors, companies will really finance the company. In other cases, so we can really 506 Sonangol will continue being operator. 3406 will be operator. 4/6 will be operator. So here we have the part of financing of Sonangol research and drilling. So block 18 and block 31, where Sonangol PNP is a contractor member, it is projected some exploring or drilling activities, activities of or exploration only there is a need to finance through to the financing the expenditures of explorations of Sonangol drilling and research. Block 23 and 24/7, Sonangol has 27%. Sonangol is operator. We come to this process of alienation, not only with the intention to give the interest of participation, but in not to be able to adapt with the change of the operator. It is a little bit depending on the strategic decision or in this decision of interest. Once again, what is on the law is to be fulfilled. It doesn't depend on Sonangol to decide to do or not to do, but we have a national agency of oil and gas and biofuel. However, when Sonangol is not the operators or in a special situation, we will see during this process where Sonangol will decide not being financed, only in this case that they will not have financing or all others, it is obligatory to be financed. Thank you very much. Thank you for more details, and we are still open. So the press is also open. If they are interested to ask questions, please feel free to ask questions. So we have now one journalist. Good morning. Journalist from Angope, looking to the objective that were mentioned on these alienations. I'd like to know how much in concrete that you intend to acquire from this alienation process. So will you be able to achieve the goals that you have set? Selling these participations, Sonangol will be able to achieve the goals of 10% of participation at countrywide. So Stella, thank you very much for your question. So I'll hand over the floor to Mr. Administrator. So thank you. In terms of perspective, so Sonangol has a commitment to pay the cash call in various blocks, the payment of debt that has work in order to conduct maintenance of stabilities in the blocks, as well as the redevelopment. We foresee until 2027, at the time that we think that we will have the 10% of the national production. So we have the estimations in order of $7,000 million. So distributed in the various years regarding the activities that were set. If we will achieve the 10%, so this is the perspective. Of course, this is our main goal. It is part of our strategic plan of drilling and research of Sonangol Group, which will be materialized by the unity of drilling and production. So on the other side, the process of alienation will also be, will also serve as a sustaining for our project of transitions of energy. So there are some aspects that will really help to have the sustainability for the Sonangol Group. So if you allow me, just for brief details on the production's goal. When we talk about 10% of the productions operated by Sonangol. So this operation is made up by all companies. So we are now working on the right of Sonangol, but Sonangol will continue operating in the blocks that with 30, 40%, the blocks that we have been operating. So the goal will be 10% independently of the participations of Sonangol in different blocks. Any other question? Now we'll hand over the floor to any other participants. Now I can see a young man there. Ajit from Tevezimbo journalist. In the same way, the question posed by Sinella. So according to the financing situation, I'd like to know how much is it the participation as it is? What is the financing cost of these participations of Sonangol? So, Mr. Administrator, you have the floor. It's vary from one block to another block regarding to the cost of operations, dimension of the block itself. Just to mention what I have in my mind. So our debt, global debt, before the end of 2020, it was roughly $900 million. Thank you, Mr. Administrator, for your details. Any other question? It seems that all details were clear, and I can feel that no more questions. So I'd like to thank for all questions posed to this podium. However, I'd like just to call attention to all investors in terms of recap or what presented by the teams that we've come and things. So there are 4 or 5 important moments. One, the reason of this process. It was well explained, the implementation of the strategy of drilling and research by Sonangol Group. So the advantages of the participation in this process. Number three, which is very important, the legal framework and the contractor element that should be respected, as well as the rules to access to data room. The last issue has to do with the deadline of the applying, which is 6 August 2021. These are the 6 elements that I'd like to highlight. Thank you, Mr. Administrator, for your answers, details, and I'd like also to thank Director Elder Lisboa, as well as Mr. CEO of the Business Unit of Oil Drilling and Research Department. Thank you, Mr. Abreu. So our journey is quite to the end. This ceremony of launching the process of partial alienations of Sonangol concessions. We now understand the process, data room, the legal framework. I'd like also to highlight will be also available the information on the process in Portuguese, English. If you want browse, just go to Sonangol website and they will really find a link that will drive you to the website of the process. To close our activity, I'm now inviting Mr. CEO, Sonangol CEO, in order to go for final remarks. Your attention to Engineer Gaspar Martins. Thank you, Selma. I'd like to start by thanking mainly the Ministry of Mineral Resources and Oil on behalf of his State Secretary of Oil, Engineer José Barroso, by participating in this session. We consider these sessions as a very important. I'd like also to thank the presence of the State Secretary, our international partners connected to the National Agency of Oil and Gas and Biofuel that are now following us without leaving behind the presence of members of the contractor, so groups of different oil concessions where Sonangol intend to alienate its participations. I'd like to start by thanking the presence of all that came and participated here live, and those online. We'd like to give the message in order to understand what is our intentions about the participation that were presented. Our colleagues that were here by presenting the potentials and those that is the intentions of the program that will drive to the final alienations of our participation, because without them, this event should not be possible. And to all that came and supported us in order to participate in these sessions where we see that was very important. According to what was mentioned, these participations aim mainly to give support to what will be the reforce of the strategies of drilling and productions of Sonangol through its drilling and productions unity intends to carry out. So these revenues will really give support to these projects that were well explained, that our strategies will never change if we move from 2 to 10% until 2027 remain. The only difference is the reductions of revenues at level of our in participative interest. I'd like also to say that Sonangol nowadays has one productions estimated in terms of right in order 220 million barrel per day. They operate blocks where this participation is more than 2%, is within 2%. I'd like to say the participative interest is different. The productions operated by Senegal, and we continue having a confusion around this element that we need. We think that if there is a need to give more or further details, 2% of Sonangol operate in total of the productions of Angola. The other is the rights of production where Sonangol has participation in different blocks where sometimes is not operated, but it's a partner. However, our rights in roughly 220 million barrel per day. So this process is giving his very beginning steps. We think through the messages that today that we can share with those that are attending this session live, and those one online, they may really have information that probably will allow to increase the interest in participating through this process. Sonangol has a team. It is ready to give support to those one that are interested to jump in on buying this. Our interest with, like, at least the message that we have conveyed today should be enough clear in order to attract big number of investor. So they might be national or international. Obviously, we have also mentioned that we also like to see new players on the activities of exploration and drilling of oil and gas in Angola. So we also count on those one that know the potentials of our oil basin, and they will also come and see and increase their interest to participate, or including to give our support in order to make that our action here, which aiming to launch the process of partial alienation of our participative interest, should allow within the program that we have set, where August 6th should be the deadline for applying the proposals, and December 30 should be able
to say which are the new players or which are the companies able to participate in our process. The winners. I would like to communicate and make that the people that are here today and online as well could follow as soon as better as follow as this does not actually impede or not prevent us to make some adaptations in accordance to the reality, but this is our shadow that that all would like our companies to follow, national, whether nationals or foreigners. I also would like once again to that this work is possible because we have we have a team that is duly prepared to follow the process as in for thorough, disciplined way. And if one is interested in invest, have a real evaluation of what is the potential of the block that its company tends to participate and take when taking this decision, you have be aware of the potential and the reason why he wants to invest. We'd like to encourage and to say those blocks are good, and this is probably you will have to have the probability to see together with the team and to clarify any issues that you might have. But I would like you to invite you to submit those as a proposal. Our process will start by now, and this is now from the 14th of June, that is today, that we are going to receive and start to interact with companies that will be interested to participate in this process. Now, we're not going to accept any previous proposals, but please, the process, so the clock starts by today, that is 14th of June. So once again, I'd like to thank you all for in this room and the colleagues and entities online, and invite you all once again to submit your proposals. Thank you for your presence, and we are ready to cooperate in everything that is possible to clear or to reply to all the answers. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Gaspar Martins, the chairman, for these ending remarks. I'd like for the press release entities. So we have some particular content to send it to you, and I'd like to thank you as well for the people that have been here and the more than 500 people worldwide that have followed us remotely. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for your participation. As the chairman said, this starts now, and this now is the startup of the farm out process for the Sonangol participatory interest in oil concessions. The Director Elder Lisboa, he has said that if we're going to sleep now, we don't want to sleep. I think that all the team is very excited. So this is just a metaphor, just to say that we're here to work, and our final mission is to produce, to transform. Thank you, and have the rest of a good day. Thank you.